Groove Builders, welcome to the workbench. We have our Metal Earth Republic of Gamers mechanical sculpture. And take a look at this package. It's definitely really unique, especially with that eye. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. On the back, we get a brief look at our model, followed by some information on how to share our pictures on social media. This is definitely interesting. Then at the bottom here, we have some information on how to build our model. And finally, on the right-hand side here is a QR code we can scan to get a 360 look at our model. This comes in handy when we're putting little bits of detail onto our build and we need to know how it goes on. Okay, let's go ahead and open up our package. Whoa. Oh no! I accidentally ripped the instructions. We have our ripped instructions. And we have our one sheet of metal. All right, Groovers, let's go ahead and get our first couple of pieces out. And just like that, our cutters are away and we have all of our parts needed for that first page of building, or page 2 if you're looking at those instructions. Now the first thing we're going to be doing is grabbing part 1 here. Now if you're new to metal models here, this is the engraved side and this is the non-engraved side. Very important for a lot of models that we're going to be building. And also, if you went through and cut all these pieces out ahead of time, I hope you went ahead and made sure that they're laid out in an order that you understand. I typically don't cut more than one page at a time, just in case it takes a little longer to form some pieces. And, you know, I want to take a break, and nothing was worse than coming back and having no idea where you left off. Having less pieces out is a good way of avoiding that. Now, I just cut off one of the burrs, which is a little piece of extra metal that's on a piece here, and you want to get rid of those if you have any on your pieces. And the reason why is when we go and we put detail on, those burrs will prevent the detail from actually getting to where it needs to go, and it will stand out and it'll be a gap and it won't look very nice. So we want to make sure that everything is cut very flush. Now with part 1, what we're going to start by doing is grabbing part 2 here, and again we're using the engraved side. We're going to grab part 2. Nothing, you'll notice that this side here, there's really no detail on either side, so it can really go in either way that you want. And we're going to attach that right here. And this gets attached with those two little triangles. What those triangles mean there is just a quick little bend, or sorry, quick little twist. Just like that. I always try to twist my connections. The reason why is it creates a really nice solid connection like that. Okay, that's our first piece. Now we're going to move on to part 3 here, and you'll notice that part 3 has a rim all the way around it. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab those little tiny bits of metal, and we're going to bend those straight down. Same with our tabs here as well. We're going to bend them straight down. And what we're going to try to do is match up the edges the best we possibly can. What we're trying to do is create a minimum gappage between each one of these pieces. If you have a surface that's hard enough, you could roll this piece, but it's a little too small in my opinion. She's looking pretty good there, I think. Now we take this piece here, and what we're going to do is we're going to attach it on to the eye here. Grab this guy, and you can actually see the detail where it goes, and we're going to try to mimic that the best we possibly can. With these here, what we're going to do is we're going to give them a nice twist as well. Just like that. And again, we're doing opposite, and the reason why we do that is because we want a really nice secure connection. And there we go. There we go. That looks pretty neat. And now with that done, we can move on to part 4, which is exactly the same thing. So we're going to go around the whole edge again and bend everything down. Let's fast forward to where I already have that complete. Okay, there we go. And just like before, we're going to put this at the bottom, and we're going to do our best to match the detail as we see it. I think both these pieces, though, don't really have too much sensitive detail. There is some, but you'll see how it matches up when you look at your part. Now, of course, when you're handling these parts, it's always very important to make sure that we're not accidentally bending part 1. That's a very easy thing to do, so be careful. There we go. Another piece of detail added on. Let's go to step 5. Step 5 is a little bit different. Now, you could sit here and you could try your very hardest to bend this to the shape that you see on the page. Totally could do that. The way that I like to do this, though, is to get a little bit of a start. So just kind of do just that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down to the part that I'm going to be attaching it to. And this is going to go on the back end. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it like this. Now when you look at the page, it's telling you to bend this tab. But what we're going to do first is we're going to twist it. Just like that. And now that's going to keep this here. And what that's going to allow me to do is allow me to shape every little tiny bit of this that I need to make it look nice. So let's go ahead and do that. And you'll notice that I'm following the edge. It's very important to follow the edge of these pieces, and all that little tiny little bit of detail too. Okay. And eventually you'll come down to this part right here where you got to put that tab in. So bring the part back a little bit, and there you go. And now we're going to continue on with the shaping and the forming. We got a big peak here, and then it meets again into the insertion hole. Cool. And now that tab that we did at the beginning there, where we did that little twist, we're going to go back to that. We're going to just bend it back down. We're going to untwist it and then bend it back down. There we go. And now that part is completely secured and perfectly shaped and formed to our part. Way easier than trying to do it just by guessing, right? Okay, now we got that down. Let's move on to the next piece, which is going to be part 6. And we're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to follow the edge. This is such a simple way of doing this. Follow the edge. This little end here is going to be bent up slightly, and then we're going to push this into its insertion hole. Oh man, we are so close. Come on now. There we go. Okay. And now that we got that in there, we can take that tab and make sure you're always pushing as hard as you possibly can when you're getting the tabs. You want to grab as much of the tab in your tweezers as possible because we're going to be securing these as tightly as we can. You don't want any wobble, spacing, or anything like I said before. You really do want everything to match up. Now looking at the back here, you can see that little bit of valley that we had on that last piece there. It's bent perfectly into shape, and that looks fantastic. All right, with part 6 in, now time to move on to part 7 and 8. Now these are a little bit different in that we're going to be putting those pieces together first and then attaching it to the assembly we just made there. Let's grab part 7 here, and let's grab part 8. Okay. Now, starting with part 7, the longest edges are always the hardest ones to bend, so what we're going to do is grab those first. I'm going to use the long part of my tweezers here to help me with this. Again, if you don't have long tweezers, you could always use your table to help you with this. Now, we're not going to be bending 100% 90 on this. What I recommend doing is bending one of the edges down here, just so you can understand where you need to stop bending. You can match that angle up. Same with the other side here. The smaller these pieces go, the harder they are to form, and I will say that. But luckily, there's not too many small pieces on this build. This is actually a pretty fun one so far. There we go. Cool. Okay. Grabbing our second piece here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to put part 7 on. We're not going to bend this just yet. And the reason why is we don't want to have any garbage on it. What I mean by that, of course, is we don't want to have any issues with trying to put this part on after we form this piece. So while we already have it like this, we should go ahead and put it on. Now, if you're having a hard time getting both of these inside, you might have to walk one of the tabs into its hole. It's totally normal. If you're having a really hard time getting in there, make sure that the tabs are actually bent correctly and you won't have this issue. Okay, now that those are there, we get to grab the tab and we're going to twist. Remember what I said before, if we bend one left, we bend the other one right. Left, something like this. And then we can shuffle it up. There we go. Ta-da! Now that we have that, we can kind of start to bend this. That's going to be a half bend, and that's going to be another half bend, but this one kind of goes straight down, where this one does not. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slightly bend these guys like this. And I don't really want to bend this one too much just yet, but I'm going to do this. Just kind of round the edge a little bit, and then grab that end tab, just because I don't know what we're doing with it just yet. I don't want to go too far. Okay, there we go. Now that we have this done, we have to attach it on to part 1. And I guess that little bend there was to try to match that. And I'm going to have to go work that out a little bit. And these are attached with a twist. So we're going to twist this. The great thing about this model is that there's so much weird and odd detail all over it that these tabs are probably going to blend right in with the build. You won't even notice they're there. Okay, there we go. That looks kind of neat. Now let's go back up here and finish fixing this up just a little bit. I'm just bending that up a little bit, and then we're taking that little tail and bending it down. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let me just take that guy down there, bend that little guy here. There we go. Okay, that looks awesome. The detail looks pretty good too. Now we need to move on to part 9. Part 9 here. Again, I'm a big fan of doing orientation, so this is the spot that we're going to use. The little bendy piece in here, that part is not the engraved side. These little marks right here, these little etching, that's going to make it easier for us to be able to get a nice kind of smooth dome look. Now what we're going to do right now is we're going to take this piece right here and we're going to make it 3D. So let's take this guy like this. And you can see by what I meant by making this a nice little curve, we're actually going to do a whole bunch of little tiny bends. And those little bends are going to get this tab to go right into the insertion hole and get that little lip there, or get that border to match up with the side almost perfectly. Now remember what I said, you want to grab as much of the tab and your tweezers as possible, and that's going to keep that little edge down on the end. Okay, now we can take this piece here, and again, I know this is going to be bent up slightly, so we're going to take it like this, and I also know that the next part is going to be kind of like that, so we're going to try to match that right there. And now that we have a little basic understanding of how this is going to go on, we can attach it like this. There they are, and these tabs are actually bent down, but before we bend those down, we're going to get these other tabs sorted out first. Boom, there's one. Two. Now, I always try to make sure that my tabs always go the same way. I recommend doing that as well. It's very pleasing to the eye. Woo! That was entertaining. Again, doing a whole bunch of small bends there, taking our time with that forming on that edge is very important. I can't say that enough. You really do need to make sure that we're bending every single part of the metal to make sure that we're getting all that detail. You don't want to miss any of the detail, especially with a piece like this, where there's so many different parts and edges and stuff that really make it look nice. Okay, there we go. That is assembly A, and all that detail really does look nice now. Let's go ahead and put this to the side and start working on the B assembly. This is part 10 here. We also have part 11 and part 12. 3 pieces, but just like before, we're going to be following the detail, and we're going to be using that with with part 11. Now, looking at this right here, it looks like we have a big bend starting off like that. And you know me, I like to start with one side and work my way. So let's go ahead and put this on. There we go. Looking good, looking good. Part 11, all secured, went back, untwisted that tab, secured it looking pretty. You know, now what we need to do is move on to that part 12, and this has been very similar to what we did with part 8, just a little bit longer, and maybe a tad bit more complex, but not very much more complex. What we're going to do first is orientate to the page that we have here, so you can see this is how the detail is. And now that we know that, we're going to bend very slightly this little piece here, bend this guy here slightly, and then bend that one straight down, just like that. Same thing with this part here. We're going to bend this guy straight like this, and we're going to bend this little bit of detail separate from that. And we can already see how this one piece is going to be matching up right here on that corner. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now that we have this basic piece, and we can see that this part right here is actually going to come up and like that. I think that's okay. And same with this piece right here. It looks like it goes like this. I'm just trying to pre-bend a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact with this piece here. If you do get the little bits kind of bent, it makes it easier for you down the road. Okay, I don't want to go any further right now until you attach it to the eyes, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, cool. There we go. Looks really nice. And I can push like this, a little pushy, 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 and that looks fantastic. See, we have our assembly A here, and now we have our assembly B. But with these built, we need more parts. All right, and there we go. We have all of our parts needed to build our model. Now, I know I went ahead and cut out some ones I normally wouldn't. That's these 2 parts right here, but there were really only 2 pieces left on the last page, so I hope you can understand why I did this. All right, let's go all the way back to part 13. And with part 13, we're doing a lot of the same we've done on the first page, and we're going to be bending some circles first here with part 14. Now, what we're going to do, just like before, we're going to bend all those little tabs down. Okay, there we go. Now that we got that little circle bent up, and I think that's our last one we have to do. So if you didn't like those, hey, we're on our last one right now. What we're going to try to do is match up that detail the best we possibly can, like I said before. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to try to make my circle look a little bit neater there. Awesome. That looks great. Okay, now we get to go back to forming some pieces here with part 15. Now with part 15, just like we've done before, we want to make sure that we grab the proper side. The longer side here with this piece goes towards the circle detail that we just did. And our correction goes away from the circle detail we just did. And what we're going to do is go right to here first. And I'm going to do a little twist. Okay. And I'm going to go here. And like this, just to match that detail up. There we go. Going back the opposite direction now. There we go. He's down. Woo! A little bit more detail added on there. There we go. I'll be more happy when we get to attach the other side. I'm not super happy with that particular attachment. Part 15, not really my friend. Let's see if we can make part 16 our friend, though. Now, part 16, this one's kind of built weird. And this one I am going to do a little bit more pre-bending. I'm going to grab the one side that kind of goes down straight 90. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to mimic what the picture says there, which goes something like this. And then this guy goes straight down. Okay. That should be a decent start. Okay. Then we can go and we can try to push this up because we know that the first thing we're going to be doing is going up after that. All right, let's go here. Bend these guys down. Now, these will be better connections when we get the other side connected, but again, you really do want to make sure these are connected the best you possibly can do, and that way, the model looks its best. Okay. We're going to make that a little tighter to that detail. It needs to be there. There we go. That's right tight. That looks perfect. That looks like it was made to be there. I don't want to lose this piece here. Okay. There we go. Part 17. I hope everyone's seeing a kind of a little bit of a pattern here in how I form these pieces. It should be really simple at this point. This guy here, our side detail, gets bent down first. And we can see that this one here has a lot of little pits and valleys. So let's go ahead and we can go ahead and see if we can get that kind of started. All right, let's grab this here. Okay, there's that other little bit of detail added on. I really like how there's like kind of popping out detail here. It really does add to the whole sculpture in my opinion. All right, now that we have that done there, we can move on to part 19, which is the bottom half of the sculpture here. I think this is also where we start to kind of build the stand a little bit. Now with part 19 here, again, we want to move to the non-engraved side, and you want to match the part to the picture. This allows you to know if you're on the right side or not. Now the first thing we're going to do is kind of come behind here and grab these little faders here, or these little bits of metal on the back end. And the reason why we're going to do that is because that little bit of detail is going to be hard to get to after we bend this up 90 degrees. We're also going to take this a little bit here and we're going to do the same thing. There we go. And now we're going to bend this up 90 degrees like I said. There it goes. And see, now we've made a border and we don't have to worry about trying to get that to do what we want it to do. And actually, it doesn't have to go at 90 degrees. We're going to do this. This part gets bent slightly, and as you know it, this part here at the top gets the 90 degree part. All right, there we go. I want to see if I can make that a little bit more pronounced. There we go. Okay, cool. There, way better. All right, now that we have this here, we know that this little bit right here at the end is going to be kind of cylindrical, I guess you could say. And so I'm going to do that right that. And I'm going to bend this guy like this. That might be too much. We're going to find out. Okay. There's a first little twist there. And now what I'm going to do is try to match this detail the best I possibly can. And by matching the detail, naturally the tabs should start to fall into their place. Now I'm going to say should. And sometimes I'm not going to say that it's necessary, but to make your life a little easier, what you could do is you take the tab and you bend it slightly in the direction, and I mean slightly in the direction of your hole that you have there. And when you do that, it will allow you to get a better connection, just like I did right there. But, shoot. I knew that we were going to lose this piece. I had a feeling. Cool. All right, now, for the most part, I think we're looking pretty good here. I know that was a little bit of a pain in the butt to try to put that piece back into place, but you know what? We did it. Now we can put this C part, because this is actually assembly C, and we'll put that right there. Now that's done. We get to move on to assembly D now. Ooh, it's really not that scary. We're grabbing part 20 here, and we're going to be taking this piece here and bending it up. Then we're going to take this guy here, match it to the side, and same thing with this here. We're going to bring it up, and then kind of make a little boat, if you will. That's what it looks like, a little battleship. Okay. Push these guys together. There we go. Excellent. Okay. There is our little boat. Doesn't that look nice? I think it looks nice. That's part 20 for us here. Now we get to move on to adding, of course, the next piece here, which would be part 21. Part 21 looks interesting as well. Again, all I'm doing is matching the detail the best I possibly can. This bottom piece here gets slightly bent differently than the rest. And again, just matching the borders. There we go. Now how this piece works is it goes on top here. Excellent. Now that we have that correctly installed and we can see the detail that's on it, we need to put this on. This is like the top. And there's a little tab here on the top that's going to be inserted. So we're going to just bend that slightly. Okay, that looks great. And that is assembly D. With all of our pieces now done, it's time to put all of our assemblies together. This is where things can be a little bit tricky. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take part 22 here, this really cool eye piece, and we're going to flip it around just like that. Then we're going to grab A. That's the one that we grabbed here. And we're going to go to the very top, and we're going to match this up with the insertion holes. Now the way I recommend doing this is to kind of start with one side, either that be the top or the bottom. Typically where I like to start is where the most amount of holes are. This makes life a lot easier. But I'm going to start with the top on this one. Make sure that you're putting this on the non-engraved side. You don't want to hide all that really cool etching. Make sure you're not missing any tabs as you go. I missed one right there in the middle. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right, now we got these ones here matched up, so let's go ahead and secure these ones here. There we go. Bend all these tabs down. Trying to forget any of them. They kind of blend in really well, don't they? This is where you can really make sure that your tabs are secure. Just make sure you don't accidentally squish any of your detail. It is hollow still, right? There we go. Excellent. That looks so good. Now we can move on to the next piece here, which is going to be attaching part B. There we go. That's part B in there, looking really good. Okay, now we get to part C in. This is that bigger piece here that we dealt with earlier, and it also has what I believe to be our stand. Now I'm gonna try. This is gonna be tricky. I'm still gonna start with the point over here, but then I'm gonna go to that little point in the center. So let me get to this point here first. I think that is all of those tabs in place. I'm going to try my best here to go around and press things in place that they need to go. Oops. You know, I gotta say, some of this detail is a little bit wacky in regards to how it goes and how it looks. I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say that with surety. I'm going to take those pieces out. They look stupid. I'm pretty sure that's actually just from the model itself. Okay, there we go. Looking flashy. Now, with that done, we need one more piece here, which is part D on, and this one should be, hopefully, the easiest of all of them. And same with the one here. Secure that up. There we go. Cool. All right. Now that's pretty much our model complete. And I gotta say, it does look really cool. But we still need to do the stand, which is right here at the bottom. And this is actually pretty easy to do. It's just the last little bit of bending that we need to do here. So again, making sure that we're bending on the correct side. We are going to make some interesting looking kind of stair design. Like this, bring it down, and like that. Or maybe more like this. I'll be honest with you, this part of my instructions is ripped off, so I should probably look at the internet to see, but I'm YOLOing right now, so YOLO. YOLO, YOLO, YOLO. Now, let's see here. Let's get this up in here. All right, and there we go. We did it. We built the Republic of Gamers mechanical sculpture. This thing looks really awesome too.